She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today.
Welcome, everybody.
Oh
It's so good to be here with you. Today, we are talking about the power of our words, how we use them, how we hear them, how we take them on, and what our words are actually doing for us. And Penny is going to kick us off by reading a quote from the Four Agreements.
Yeah, so you all know that The Four Agreements is one of my all-time favorite books, and I've been studying that book and using it in our company and in my life for like 15 years. And so I have one of the cool things about The Four Agreements is they have these little card decks, and I'm a big card person. So I've bought a ton of these card decks, and so I've actually separated them out by each agreement. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And I'm reading one of the cards to you all. If you're watching it on video, you'll see the card. It's a person with, I guess it's like a stream of whatever coming out of their mouth. We're going to call it magic because the card says, become a white magician. And on the back of the card, it says, all the magic you possess is based on your word. And you cast spells all the time with your opinions. You can either put a spell on someone with your word, or you can release someone from a spell with your word. So we thought that would be a fun way to start off this podcast today, because we really realize that everything we do has an impact on everybody else around us. And I know that there's several of us that have stories for that. So who's going to go next with a story about being a white or a black magician?
I'll go because this one is embarrassing.
All right.
Ooh, this is going to be good.
Good. And you can just be glad you're not my husband, because he was the I just like spilled out all over him. So we have a son who struggles a lot in school, and he is a junior. He's going to become a senior, and he's kind of living this life that I never thought my children were going to live, which is not choosing college, not choosing to. I think I'm just brainwashed with this thing, like, you have to go to school and you have to go to college or the world's going to fall apart for you. And I mean, no offense to 7-Eleven workers, but my thing is like, you're going to work at 7-Eleven for the rest of your life. So how does that make him feel? Okay, that's not even the embarrassing one. So I was really kind of upset about it this morning. I was talking to my husband, and I was telling him I really would like to get out of Denver, the snow. I need some sun and heat, and I want to go someplace warm. And I said, I just want to get out of this house of horrors. And I mean, how does that make my husband feel? He's in the house with me, right? And so I really thought it was kind of funny, but then it wasn't funny. And I was implying that my son who lives here and my husband contribute to the house of horrors for me. And it's not true. And I said it for drama, and I said it for, I think for, because I was being a victim. Like I was, poor me, I live in this house of horrors, which is a freaking awesome house in an amazing neighborhood in an unbelievable state with the sun shining down and everything else, and wonderful, wonderful humans that I live with, that I'm so blessed to have be in my life. And this just like rings perfectly. This topic is perfect for me because I did call him and say, I'm so sorry. I hope you know this is, I didn't mean what I said, and I shouldn't have said it. And he kind of, oh, I didn't even realize, haha, I blew it off. But again, it's the like casting a spell, it was just wrong. It was like knives coming out of my mouth. It was wrong for me to say, and it's untrue. So I've felt bad about it all day, and I'm really thankful my son didn't hear it, because that would have been the horror for me. So that's my experience. And I try to watch what I say, but sometimes, it was serving me somehow. It was making me feel like, oh, poor me, I didn't get to go to the beach in March. Like
First world problems, right, Melissa?
totally. Totally. And I like get over it. Like and there's other stuff, with it, but I didn't need to say it.
If you could do a do-over, what would that be?
Well, I tried. I did call and apologize to my husband, and I did say we don't live in a house of horrors. That was just all for drama. And I'm sorry I did that. So that was my do-over. And also just saying it like out loud that, these are parts of me that I'm still working on. And it wasn't a proud moment. And also like I said, I'm really glad my son didn't hear it. And I need to clean up what comes out of my mouth and what I think about in regards to my son, because I don't know what his future is going to be. And it's not based on on the belief system that I was raised with. So anyway, yeah, I just want to do better. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that, Melissa. I can relate to that part about your son and choosing not to go to college. I didn't have that necessarily with my son, but with my stepdaughter, I used the exact same phrase you did, except for it wasn't 7-Eleven. It was the Family Dollar she was going to be working at if she didn't go to college. And I don't know why. I'm guessing it's just been a part of this cleansing process, but that has come into my mind over and over and over again. And that's been at least 7 years ago, I think. Yeah, 7 years ago. And so I probably need to clear that up and clean that up. That's why it keeps coming up for me it just pops in my mind randomly every now and again that I said that. And she's doing great. She went into the Marines and she has a great life and she's doing great. So, but I still need to clean that up because it could very well be impacting. If it's replaying for me, it could be replaying for her, and yeah, that's very damaging. Because on the flip side, thinking back, I had a lot of really positive people saying a lot of positive things about me. Like, oh my God, you're so smart. You're so athletic. You're so well rounded. And a lot of those things, even from first grade, I often think about hearing teachers talk about certain things. And they still replay in my mind 50 years later, you know? And yeah, so I shall definitely be claiming that for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Well, it sounds like we all get cast under spells of society. So like those societal beliefs that you have to go to college in order to be successful in the world, and you know, being mindful not to pass that on to your children and cast that spell on them. But I also like that it says in the four agreements that um, the human mind is like a fertile ground where seeds are continually being planted, and if you um, have the ground ready for loving, good, positive influence, then those negative spells won't land in the fertile ground. I don't know if I'm like really expressing that clearly, but it sounds like um was it your niece that you were talking about, Drusilla, or your daughter?
Daughter. Hmm.
Daughter. Yeah, it sounds like that seed didn't fall on her fertile ground and she didn't allow it to um flourish and take over as a new belief for herself. Um And I just wanted to share a story that came up while you were sharing, Drusilla. Um, we went to see, we went to the Hangout Festival many years ago. I guess it was probably like 10 years ago, and Stevie Wonder was playing. And um, I kind of had low expectations because he's played so many concerts. I just thought, I've seen him on TV. I just thought it would be overproduced, very canned, like same show that he's done a million times. No vibe to it, but I was so wrong. It was so amazing. He tried new songs, like new cover songs that he hadn't done before. His daughter was up there with him performing as a background singer, and um, he shared a tender moment with the audience. He said that a teacher once told him that he would never amount to anything, and he like started crying on the stage, and he was like, he brought his daughter up there with him, and he was like just thanking the audience and all of his fans basically for this reality that he was able to prove that teacher wrong. But that could have been a spell that, if it had landed on fertile ground that was ready to receive that, could have changed the course of his life. And so it's just, and it didn't, thankfully. I mean, that was such a powerful moment, and I feel honored to have been a part of it. But like, it just makes me give pause to like how powerful our word is. And I read somewhere that even the words like spelling ABCs, writing out, I mean, it comes from that. Like this is ancient knowledge that has just been sort of kept from us, that our word is so powerful. And like, we haven't been taught this as children, and we've been so careless, or I've been so careless with my word for most of my life. And like, um, yeah, even the word, this is funny. I read this on an Instagram post. Even the word abracadabra means I will create as I speak. So like, um, that's commonly thought of as like a magician's or witchcraft type of a word, but it's like, it's casting a spell. We're casting a spell every time we speak. We are, yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Well, I don't want the audience to miss that because I almost did when you said the word spell, as in spelling a word is like the same or equivalent to casting a spell. Is that what you meant?
Just
That's so
that,
interesting.
yeah, just that the word comes from the word spelling is not created in our vocabulary by accident. It comes from the word to cast a spell. And yet we've never
Never
been
heard that before.
taught about the power of our word before, even though it was hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, and it's the power of our thoughts too. The Peace Pilgrim has a great quote that I just love, and it's, if you realized how powerful your thoughts are, you would never think a negative thought. Because remember, every thought become something. Every thought creates form on some level, and so, yeah. Maybe we just all better be quiet right now. No.
Not me. I'm not going to be quiet. I love you all. I love everybody. Sending powerful love out to everybody.
I just had another thought, Morgan, while you were talking. I don't want to hog time today, but I was just thinking, something negative came up for me, and I'm like, what is that? What's going on? But I do remember that when I was a senior in high school and I had applied to go to Clemson University, and my uncle, my mom's brother, had come over, and I was so excited. And I was telling him all about the applications that I put in and that I really wanted to go to Clemson, which is only about 15 minutes from my home. So it's our home university, but it's the most popular one, of course. And then he looks at me like he was really proud, but then he said, "Oh, you're not going anywhere." He said it in a way that it wasn't a joke, and it fell on fertile ground. I mean, I still carry that story around with me. And I ended up getting pregnant with my son after I graduated high school. And I didn't get to go to Clemson, but I always heard that. And lo and behold, when my son was gone off to daycare, I ended up re-enrolling at Clemson and going back to school to get my degree. And I will have to say that I consciously used that as a motivator for myself. I truly did, because it stuck with me that he didn't believe I could do it. He really didn't believe I could do it.
Well, my dad,
And
he didn't believe in going to college either, and he wasn't going to help me to get to college because he thought I was just going to go there and get my MRS, find my husband, get married, and never use my degree. And so I know, my MRS instead of an MBA, which I got, or not an MBA, I got a BBA and a BA. Anyway, yeah, so I totally can relate to what you went through, Drusilla, because I was always fighting against the current that, yeah, I knew I wanted to go to college and I couldn't wait. And everybody in my family, I was the first one actually to graduate from a 4-year college on my dad's side of the family. Yeah. So, and I'm not the oldest. I'm like the middle or towards the end.
So the youngest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So people can really, teachers and authority figures can really parents can really. So I understand, Melissa, why you didn't want your son to hear what you said this morning. Yeah. Yeah.
And spouses too. Like, I mean, if you think of your word as a self-fulfilling prophecy, then you don't want to tell your spouse, like, you never help out around the house. You're so lazy. You're so mean. You don't want to tell that story over and over again if we're claiming the power of our word. Or self-talk too.
And it's for me, it's a little bit scary when I realize the actual power of my thoughts
Mhm.
and my words. And that is when you start thinking that way, you start like really watching what you're saying and what you're thinking and how it's manifesting in the world. It's a reality check. For me, it gave me pause. Um, especially like that's when I really leaned on like not gossiping, not talking about other people. Like that's when I was like, I really want to clean up my thoughts and my words because that is power. And I want to be a powerful healing force in the world. And I want to bring love and joy in the world. And just that one thing about not talking bad about other people to other people, that's a real shift as well. When I started doing it, I felt kind of like, especially at work, like an outcast a little bit because um, that's what, that's kind of accepted practices in most of our society. That is an accepted topic, right? We don't let's talk about somebody else and what they're doing and not doing. And I don't know if it is to make us feel better about ourselves, but what I do know is when I stopped participating in that, I felt myself alone a lot, right? Like just not talking to
Mhm.
people.
That's so funny that you mentioned that, Amanda, because I have the book, the Four Agreements companion book. And one of the questions in here they asked Don Miguel is, I have difficulty knowing how to tell my friends and coworkers that I don't want to gossip anymore. I've tried to make an agreement with my best friends not to gossip, but she still gossips. How can I
Mhm.
keep my agreement not to gossip without looking arrogant and losing my friends?
Mm.
Right? Because that's usually, I mean, when
Yes.
I've tried to stop gossiping, I'm watching everybody else gossip and I kind of sit there and they think like, okay, well, this is what Don Miguel suggests. While you're breaking your agreements, you will be dealing with people who are not involved in this process and you have no control over them. Their behavior is the result of their beliefs and their wounds. What they do about it is not up to you. They are not your business or your problem. All you can do is work to change your agreements with yourself and the agreements that you make with other people. The agreements with other people with other people have two sides, and each person is responsible for his half only. Um, anyway, if the person is not keeping their word, it's up to you to stay there or not, according to your own personal integrity. So you can either stay in the conversation and the friendship or not. I don't know if that helped, but anyway, I just remember that it's hard to stop gossiping and being impeccable with your word when everybody else around us is talking smack about everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the way that it shook out was for a while, I didn't talk to, like, I found myself not engaging in conversation.
Mhm.
And then a turning point was then people didn't really talk negatively about other people when I was around, right? So it was a good learning for me about how to be the example. And it also came from a really loving place. I wasn't judging them as like, ooh, look at me, I'm not gossiping anymore, right? Like so. And that's when my intuition started kicking in a little bit better. When I started hearing guidance and following guidance is when my thoughts and my words were lined up.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Awesome, Amanda. Can you tell us an example of how you handled it in the beginning when you found yourself in the midst of a gossip conversation, like how you made your exit?
Yeah. I would just made an exit. Like
Excuse me, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Which
because
is a good one.
I just started getting that uncomfortable feeling and I just
Mhm.
left the conversation and I just went and did something else. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I'll find myself going and doing the dishes or
Yeah.
starting to sweep the floor
Yeah.
when my
And
family
also
starts
like
asking.
pivot a conversation, like,
Mhm.
just change the subject. I did that a lot. And also my conversations weren't about other people. Like my conversations weren't negative spins on people. I just stopped having those conversations. That was the biggest thing. Mhm.
Yeah.
And that is, I just love that. I love the power of the word, the impeccability of the word. Because when I was little, I had dyslexia, or I don't know if you ever get rid of it, but um my handwriting was bad, my spelling was bad, which is interesting about these conversations right now that we're talking
Mhm.
about this. So it was reinforced in me that I'm always going to have a hard time reading. Like my handwriting is terrible. My spelling is bad. I can't communicate. Like I was told that I couldn't communicate well because what was in my head wasn't coming out. Reading comprehension was bad. Like all of these tests, like I was being told over and over again about all these things that I wasn't very good at. And so, and school was hard for me, right? Especially when I was younger. Mhm. So, and I love this conversation because it's a choice now. I'm like, nope, that is a false belief. That is other people's opinions of me. So to, even to be having this conversation. And Melissa, when you were saying about like you chose to change the narrative, I caught myself and I changed that. And Drusilla, I love that. You're like, that's not me. Like I'm going to go forward and to go to college. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it was because I had so much more positive stuff before that, you know. It's so amazing how these little such good topic.
Mm-hmm.
I had thought about this first grade teacher, and she wasn't my teacher, but I heard her interacting with my teacher, and my teacher said to her, "Oh my God, yeah, she is one of the best and brightest students I've ever had." And the other teacher was like, "Oh my God, I wish she was in my class." And I just took that with me. And they weren't talking to me. They didn't even know I heard them, you know? And yeah, so it's like, thank God for those words, which was
Mm-hmm.
just opposed to the other sprinklings of negativity out there, you know? Um, yeah, thank God for those.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. So what are some spells that have been cast on you that you have broken? Priscilla, you shared yours about the Clemson,
Yeah.
a good one.
I have one more. It's a quick one. So, remember when there was this thing about women when women started working, going to college and working and all of that good stuff like we do today. And it was like the woman's not married by the time she's 40, she's more likely to get struck by lightning. I got married when I was in my 40s. How about that one? Yeah, but I believed it. Thought I was doomed. I was getting ready to go get my cats and all that good stuff.
When I was 19, my younger sister got married, and my great uncle said that I was an old maid at 19 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I didn't get married until I was 32, but I decided I was going to go out and live my life versus be tied down in a marriage.
Yeah.
Because marriages tie you down, right? No, that's a false belief. Yeah.
What's coming to mind for me is on a societal level, like my husband and I are big Star Trek fans. And so like the original Star Trek, like the way that the women's roles and the way that they were dressed and like wow, right? It's just so that whole narrative has shifted on a societal plane to not women can do whatever they want. Women don't have to answer the phone and take notes and wear short skirts to be right. That's women's
I kind
role.
of say it's still shifting, Amanda. I don't think it's got there yet. It's getting closer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see it as completely shifted, Penny. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I see it as completely shifted, especially in the movies, right? Like TV, like women are projected as strong characters. Women are lead characters.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
in like animated films for children now, they're doing strong females who don't get saved by a prince.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And Queen Latifah's new TV show, I can't think of it now, but she's like the lead strong, I like that show. I like women, strong leader women things. And
Me
that's,
too.
yeah. So that is the difference between, I think between the 70s, I believe the original Star Trek series was in the 70s. So in 30 years, that has, it's wow. I just dated myself.
Weren't you born in the 70s?
Oh, yeah. Wow. So that's like 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. That changed the narrative. It's so funny. Huh.
I'm realizing in this conversation that my family's my family has steered each other with shame.
Oh,
And so that, like I was shamed about things and that was meant to change my behavior. And so I see myself worried about a lot of stuff for my kids. And if I'm not grounded, if I'm just like, it's the shame that comes out that is the words I choose to maneuver them. And because I mean, really, like, are you going to work at 7-Eleven? That's a shaming thing so that you go to college and you don't work at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, so that is, I'd like to change that. And I'd like to be the person that stops that in my family.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we
You
don't
can
need,
be.
yeah, we don't need to do that anymore. And I don't need to do that. And I find it very interesting. And I would say, one thing, like on fertile ground, that someone said to me once after growing up with people, I think I've always been I've just said what I've wanted to say. And so I've been called a brat and a bitch and, that kind of stuff. Um, and then one time when I was probably in my 30s, a woman said to me, you're you're one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And literally I was like, oh my God, I hope someone writes that on my tombstone. Because it was just such a reflection that landed on fertile ground that made me think differently about myself. And so that was, for me, one of the things someone said for me that really helped me.
She was right on.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She was.
Mhm. So we're coming to the end of our time. Any final thoughts on the power of the word?
maybe it would be helpful to share Jennifer's 5 ego words. Jennifer Hadley, our teacher, how she teaches us at the very beginning of Masterful Living how to know when you're speaking from ego versus from love.
What do you mean by ego then?
The false self, the
Mhm,
small self. Yeah, that's good to clarify.
mhm.
The fear-based
self.
self.
The
The
fear-based self.
personality, self
Yeah. I
Mhm.
like
versus
the
our
yeah, I
higher
like
true self.
mhm.
The imposter self. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
I like the fear-based self. That's my favorite one. So thank you, yeah, for having that
What
clarification.
are those words, Morgan?
So tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's need and want, should, always, and never.
Yeah.
And need and want because that is coming from a place of lack. And so you're casting a spell of lack into your life when you're coming from that space. Should, because it's a judgy word, judgmental word. And always and never because they those words only apply to the spiritual qualities of God. And if usually when we're using them, it's like, you always do this, you never do this. And
Mhm.
so if that cover it.
That is a great place to end. Like really
I'd
watch.
like
Mhm, go
I'd like
ahead.
to just end with one card, and it's seek to know the truth.
Okay.
And this card says, when you hear an opinion and believe it, you make an agreement and it becomes part of your belief system. The only thing that can break this agreement is to make a new one based on truth. Only the truth has the power to set you free.
Mm,
So let's seek the truth
yeah.
Yeah.
And let's
Mhm.
speak the truth.
and
Yeah.
speak it. Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Oh, man.
Amen.